Okay, great. Good afternoon and welcome to the Joint Conference Committee meeting for Laguna Honda Hospital of June 13th, 2023. Mr. Warwitz, can you please take the roll?
Yes, I'll start with you, Commissioner Guillermo.
Present.
Commissioner Green.
Present.
And Commissioner Chow.
Present.
I will read the land acknowledgement. The San Francisco Health Commission acknowledges that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who were the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Would you like me to call the items, Commissioner?
Thank you.
Item 2 is the approval of the minutes for the meeting of May 9th, 2023. And I'll just note that on the draft minutes, I incorrectly stated that Commissioner Guillermo was present. So in the amended and the final version that you all will vote on, I will make sure that she's excused.
Thank you, Mr. Morowitz. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Let's see. Yes, I see. Before we begin public comment, let me read a statement. For each agenda item, members of the public will have an opportunity to make comment for up to 3 minutes. The public comment process is designed to invite input and feedback from individuals in the community. However, the process does not allow questions to be answered in the meeting or for members of the public to engage in back and forth conversation with the commissioners. The commissioners do consider comments from members of the public when discussing an item and making requests to the DPH. Please note that each individual is allowed one opportunity to speak per agenda item. Individuals may not return more than once to read statements from other individuals unable to attend the meeting. Written public comment may be sent to the Health Commission at the following email address: health.commission.dph@sfdph.org. If you wish to spell your name for the minutes, you may do so during your verbal comments without taking your allotted time. Please note that city policies, along with federal, state, and local law, prohibit discriminatory or harassing conduct against city employees and others during public meetings and will not be tolerated. We'll first take public comment from individuals attending the meeting in person. We will then take remote public comment from individuals who have received an accommodation for disability. I've given each of these individuals a code to speak when they begin their comments. I've given 2 individuals accommodation for today's meeting. Finally, we will hear remote public comment from all other individuals. There will be a time limit of 20 minutes on the total amount of remote public comment that can be heard on each item from individuals who have not received an accommodation for disability. Okay. So I'm going to mute the caller and then we'll go from there. Caller, you're unmuted. Please let us know that you're there.
Yeah, it's Patrick Manetshaw, code AA.
Thank you. You may begin.
Yeah, good afternoon, Commissioners. These May 9th meeting minutes show I had testified about my concern with the May Regulatory Affairs report, which had reported another 13 allegations of abuse. The 3 anonymous complaints in the May report I addressed in these meeting minutes were clearly not quote-unquote facility-reported incidents, or FRIs. I noted that anonymous complaints may keep haunting Laguna Honda and may lead to more immediate jeopardy citations, perhaps dooming Laguna Honda's efforts to become recertified, because you have no idea what is being reported anonymously until CDPH shows up and issues you an actual harm or an immediate jeopardy citation. And I'll remind you, CMS has warned you not to get any more immediate jeopardies. 3 times they've warned you. It appears that the CDPH inspection on May 5th involving an anonymous complaint may have involved the care plan violation of the patient having suicide ideation, which led to your May 8th immediate jeopardy citation. Why are we getting so many anonymous reports, either from family members, guardian ad litem, or from staff who choose to remain anonymous so that they don't lose their jobs. You really need to get these anonymous complaints under control. Thank you.
All right, that was the only hand for public comment on this item.
Thank you for your comments. So are there any questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, great. Then we have a motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next item is general public comment, and I have another bit of a script to read for that. At this time, members of the public may address the commission on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission but are not on this meeting agenda. Each member of the public may address the commission for up to 3 minutes. And everything else I would say I have just said in the earlier item. So just to repeat, this is a time to make comment on items that are not on the agenda. Please press *3 if you'd like to do so now. I do not see any hands. I'm going to do one last call before we move on. This is general public comment. And I do see a hand. Okay, caller, please let us know that you're there.
Yeah, it's Patrick Lynette-Shaw. Again, I am not speaking on items on today's agenda, so don't cut me off, please. I had asked Mr. Morwitz to forward the full commissioners my sunshine complaint that the public records staff at DPH are slow walking 6 of my complaints. I'm sorry, 6 of my records requests. This is ridiculous that they have decided to delay responses until they take them in order, when in fact they have those documents I've requested for all 6 requests readily available that they could provide today. Secondly, I want to remind the JCC that on April 4th in the Commission's Finance and Planning Commission meeting, Commissioner Chow and another commissioner were really surprised to hear about a new $5.8 million contract with Moss Adams to support the Laguna Honda Incident Command Structure on Laguna Honda recertification. Looking at the Moss Adams deliverables mentioned in that contract monitoring report on May 4th, it is not at all clear that you need to spend another $5.8 million at Laguna Honda for recertification efforts. And I will remind you that both commissioners requested back in April that the JCC receive some kind of briefing about just what the heck Moss Adams is doing. And for 2 months, you haven't scheduled it on your meeting agendas. Why are you guys hiding whatever it is that Moss Adams has been brought in to spend another $6 million on? You need to get that briefing for the JCC scheduled for the next JCC meeting. Thank you.
Okay, that's the only hand that was up for that item. We could move on to the next item, which is the Laguna Honda Executive Team Report. Mr. Pickens.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
My privilege to be here with you today and to present this leadership report on behalf of the executive team and staff at Laguna Honda Hospital. I'm here in person with you, and I'm also joined by several members of the executive team and regulatory affairs and quality management team who are joining remotely and will be participating in today's meeting and also assisting in answering any questions you may have. Next slide. So it is my pleasure to share with the Joint Conference Committee and members of the public of the announcement of our new nursing home administrator and chief executive officer for Laguna Honda Hospital. We're pleased to announce Sandra Simon as the new leader at Laguna. She starts her tenure as a city employee on Monday, June 26. She and I have been in constant communication over the last few weeks and are very much getting started early on her onboarding and orientation to Laguna, and that process will commence upon her presence at Laguna, and particularly through the first month. There's several items of both required training and education that are required for all employees who work at Laguna, in addition to just the normal orientation and handoff process. Ms. Simon brings over 20 years of successful nursing home administration experience, leading other high-performing skilled nursing facilities, all of which have had CMS 3, 4, and 5-star ratings for the past few decades. Ms. Simon previously served as the Chief Administrative Officer at the Jewish Home in San Francisco, a position she held for many years and was successful. So she is not a stranger to San Francisco and the skilled nursing industry, both locally and within the state of California. Also pleased to, next slide, pleased to share an update on many of the other leadership positions we are filling. These include the Director of Nursing Services, the Medical Director, 2 Assistant Nursing Home Administrators, our Executive Director of Facilities, Engineering, Fire, Life Safety, and Capital Projects, and Director of Emergency Management and Disaster Preparedness. The role of Director of Nursing and Medical Director are still in the recruitment and search process with our executive search firm. Interviews have commenced for the Director of Nursing over the last few weeks. There are interviews this week and also interviews scheduled for next week for that position. The Medical Director, we're still identifying candidates, and once there's a sufficient pool, we'll begin the interview process for that position as well. I'm pleased to report that for the roles of Assistant Nursing Home Administrator, those 2 positions, and then the Executive Director of Facilities and Engineering and Capital Projects, we have made offers of hire, and those offers have been accepted, and so those individuals will be announced in short order. Next slide. So as we've discussed before, our path towards recertification actually started in April of last year with the formal decertification process. And as you very well know, since that time, we've continued to work hard with all of our staff and our expert consultants to meet all regulatory requirements and make rapid improvements to prepare for recertification. Between the Laguna Honda staff and our expert consultants, we are confident we have a team in place for successful recertification. Next slide. You'll recall that on November 10th of last year, the city reached a settlement agreement with CMS and the California Department of Public Health, which paused involuntary transfers of residents to other skilled nursing facilities and extended payment through November of this year. You'll also recall on May 18th, we received the good news that CMS agreed to our most recent request to continue that pause of involuntary resident transfers until September 2023, and it also extended CMS payments through March of 2024 in the event that recertification had not been achieved prior to that time. Related to, but not covered by the continuation of the pause of involuntary resident transfers, you'll recall that I previously reported to you that in March we were directed by CMS to proceed with discharges for residents who no longer had skilled nursing needs. At that time, there were 42 residents in that category, and as of early April. And through May 31st, we can report that of those 42, 5 residents have been discharged. One of those residents was discharged to their home, and the other 4 residents were discharged to board and care facilities in San Francisco. Next slide. So the next step in our path towards recertification builds upon all the work we did January through May in terms of the root cause analysis conducted by the CMS quality improvement expert, and then the action plan that we developed alongside the expert, which, as you know, had a total of 500 milestones that needed to be met, most of them by May 13th, and a few that actually extended beyond May. In addition to all of that work, our most recent effort reflects the fact that despite many of the improvements we've made from January through May, there still was a need for making sure that those improvements were actually driving down to the nursing unit level. And to that end, we have developed an initiative called the Consistent Care at the Bedside Monitors, or the CCBM. The CCBMs are embedded on all 13 of our nursing units, and they provide mentorship to the nurse managers and charge nurses and all staff, and just-in-time education and on-the-job training. We are optimistic that this interactive, personalized training will help our staff receive the support and education needed to best care for our residents and be fully compliant with all CMS skilled nursing facility regulations. This initiative, as I mentioned, builds upon the action plan to ensure that the improvements are sustained and are translating to excellent care at the bedside. We anticipate, at a minimum, this initiative will last at least through December of this year. Next slide. As part of the settlement agreement that I previously mentioned, as you know, CMS conducts every 90-day monitoring surveys to be able to assure themselves that Laguna is making progress towards regulatory compliance and on the path for recertification in the CMS program. Our third CMS 90-day monitoring survey began on June 5th and ended this past Friday. The survey team was very complimentary of the way that the Laguna staff worked with them throughout the week and noted that they could really see improvements since their last visit and the time that they've been spending at Laguna over the last several months. We received an initial preliminary exit conference from the survey team, and by CMS rules, should be receiving our final survey results within 10 days. And we'll be sharing that with the Commission upon receipt. But all in all, we feel good about our performance in that survey and look forward to sharing with you in more detail once we receive the final signed off report from the CMS regional office. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have successfully submitted our original action plan plus the additional milestones that were added after the second and third monitoring survey, which ended up, we originally started with 320 milestones originally, and as a result of those additional surveys, ended up with a total of 500 milestones that we are happy to report through May 31st, all 500 milestones were successfully completed and certified by the CMS QIE as having been implemented within the organization. So again, we see this as concrete evidence and documentation to CMS that Laguna Honda is serious about regulatory compliance and recertification, and that we have met this mark that they laid out for us to meet. With the successful completion of this action plan and our strong performance in this third monitoring survey, We will be conferring with the CMS QIE to soon be able to determine the date by which we believe will be ready to have a successful recertification survey, and we'll be in touch with the JCC and the Health Commission as that decision is made. Next slide. Again, we're sharing this graphic that we shared since January that outlines in graphic format the timetable we've been on since November when the settlement agreement was reached, and reflects the root cause analysis and action plans that were done January through May. And again, at the very bottom shows our plan to apply for recertification later this summer. Next slide. And finally, sharing with you a slide we share at all of our JCCs historically, giving you statistics on admissions. And as you know, we have not had admissions for over a year and a half due to the decertification, and also sharing number of discharges and expirations. Next slide. So that concludes my part of today's presentation. My colleagues from the staff will be presenting other reports, both in open and closed session, and at the appropriate time, I'll be happy to take any questions or comments from the commission at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. See if there are any public comments.
Yes, Mr. Pickens, or somebody in the room is going to do it. Could you adjust the microphone so it's lower for her, please? So we'll start with the person in the room. And I have a timer with 3 minutes on it, and when the buzzer goes, please know your time is up.
Okay, I'm tall, so not too much adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, thank you.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Melanie Grossman, and I am the president of the Older Women's League. And I have been advocating since the beginning of these hearings for older women in terms of making sure that they have a place to go when they are elderly or unable to live alone and do not have long-term care insurance, do not have a family. And the city of San Francisco is filled with many women who are aging, who came to San Francisco in the 60s and have lived here, worked here, and we're very concerned about them. Also, the report from Dr. Pickens was very encouraging, and I am hoping that we are advocating for whether or not recertification is achieved, that we still question the Flow project, which I think has created part of the problem in Laguna Honda, in that many patients from the emergency room at San Francisco General have come into the hospital, and this has created problems. Traditionally, Laguna Honda has been able to evaluate patients and to make a decision as to whether they're appropriate for the facility, whether or not they have the capability of providing services. So I hope we will go back to that more traditional admissions process. And finally, I would like to say that I also hope and advocate for a situation where none of the present beds from Laguna Honda will be taken up by special units for drug-addicted patients or mental health patients. These patients certainly need help and need services, and I would advocate for those services be provided outside of Laguna Honda so that beds aren't taken up to serve these patients and continue to serve more traditional Laguna Honda patients, especially women. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we will go to folks who have received an accommodation. Again, there are two. If you've not received an accommodation, please do not raise your hand. I'll start with the first hand I see. Caller, please let us know that you're there.
Hi, it's AA or Patrick again.
Yes,
I
please
want
begin.
to congratulate Ms. Simon for having been hired as the new CEO and nursing home administrator, even though her recent past two employers had received 1-star and 2-star CMS ratings on their last CMS inspection. Pickens' May 14th letter to DHHS claimed that the Consistent Care at the Bedside initiative at $1 million plus monthly was a new contract, a records request, so it is just a new initiative under HSAG's old $7.2 million contract awarded last February, which had not mentioned the CCBI initiative at all. Pickens' May 14th letter to DHHS also reported, quote, despite 12 months of significant improvements, there continue to be instances where some LHH staff are at times unable to consistently and reliably deliver safe, regulatory compliant, and policy compliant care at the bedside, end quote. That is alarming. CMS's May 18th letter had warned Laguna Honda for a third time, quote, ensured that no more immediate jeopardy citations occurs, end quote. Why is Laguna Honda still racking up immediate jeopardies? The Gantt chart on page 9 of Pickens' presentation today has changed, showing additional milestone actions through October 2023. When will LHH actually submit its application for recertification in order to get this cloud of mandatory involuntary discharges hanging over residents' heads, to have that cloud move away and have Laguna Honda be able to resume admissions that have been stalled now for at least 14 months. We need to get this recertification moving more quickly without any further immediate jeopardy citations. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next caller I will mute. Please let us know that you're there. Oh. The caller disappeared. Are there any other public comments from folks who have not received an accommodation? You can press star 3. Oh, I see. Caller, you're unmuted. Please let us know that you're there.
No.
I apologize.
Hello, Commissioner.
Yes,
Hello?
please begin. Yes.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners. Mr. Pickens notes in his executive report that with a strong performance in our third monitoring survey, we will soon be able to apply for recertification. How soon? Are direct care staff still short and constantly moved around? If so, immediate jeopardy citations will continue. It appears that few of the 40 plus residents who no longer need nursing home care have found placement. Lack of sufficient housing and treatment in San Francisco is one of the key reasons that Laguna Honda is in dangerous trouble. Will newly hired leaders have the resources to provide sufficient services? Will support be provided to safely move residents out who no longer benefit from nursing home care? Will LHH leaders be allowed to screen out new candidates for admission who are unsafe or inappropriate? or will we lose LHH to business as usual? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, caller, I've unmuted you. Please let us know that you're there.
Thank you. This is Michael Lyon of the Great Panthers, and I want to emphasize the points that the previous speaker made about the problems of people who are going to be discharged from Laguna Honda on the basis of not needing SNF care anymore. San Francisco is just woefully short of any kind of services for people like that, and the record of people being sent out of county beyond the reach of their friends and family who are so important to assure that they have good care in these facilities it is terrible. And there needs to be some process in which some kind of dashboard or something like that where we can know what the status of these 40 people who have been judged not needing SNF care anymore. The health department and the health commission needs to be more aggressive in determining city policy about taking over vacated hotels or any kind of facilities in order to be able to convert them into board and care and other kinds of facilities that are sub-SNF level. The same is also true on the question of behavioral health, that the Health Commission and the Health Department needs to be more aggressive to prevent the city from going into a drug war mentality of dealing with the horrible fentanyl situation. There's just been a very influential paper put out on the American Journal of Public Health showing that that this drug war approach is absolutely ineffective. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I see one more hand.
Hello?
Yes, caller, please let us know that you're there.
Hi, this is Dr. Palmer. I was WW, but someone took down my hand right when I was about to speak. So anyway, I'm here. It's nice that, I'm grateful that Dr. Pickens is telling us the survey is over and it went well, but he did not specifically reassure us that no immediate jeopardy has been found. And you would know that from the preliminary exit conference. So I would like to be reassured that no immediate jeopardy has been found. I also find it quite damning that out of 42 residents, in the last 2 months, you've only been able to discharge 5. 4 of them went apparently to the same board and care, Victorian Manor. So this is according to the CMS letter, they want you to promptly discharge people that need a lower level of care, but there's no place for them to go in San Francisco, and there's not enough board and care type settings for people with disabilities or physical disabilities or behavioral problems or both. And these are usually the type of settings that someone who spent time in a nursing home needs. And so what is being done to ameliorate that? Or Laguna Honda is continuing to be jeopardized by people being inappropriately admitted or inappropriately retained. In the same vein, if Laguna Honda continues to admit people with uncontrolled behavioral problems and untreated active addiction, it's going to make it impossible to write for traditional nursing home staff to know how to write care plans, and you're going to be put in immediate jeopardy time after time. So if you're not giving your new nursing home leaders support in screening out people that are inappropriate for a nursing home, you're just going to stay in trouble. The third question I'd like to ask is, a closure plan is due July 31st. Are you going to apply for recertification? Are you going to be able to avoid doing or the state is actually going to have to do most of the work, but is that closure plan going to be avoided, or will one have to be created on July 31st with all the fear and upset that a plan like this makes? We need to know as soon as possible what the final survey results are, when recertification will be applied for, and when it will be achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and that is the last hand up for public comment.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I'll turn to my colleagues and see if there are any questions or comments for Mr. Pickens. Commissioner Chow.
Well, thank you for this report, which I think has been one of the more optimistic reports that we have received, with the onboarding of Sandra Simon, who has seems to have quite an impressive resume for coming into troubled organizations and assisting them out of that, and then creating more superior organizations, at least according to the resume. And I'm sure that's been all vetted. So I think we certainly look forward to seeing her and being able to work with her. The other positive aspect was to have heard of our survey that went probably as short as we would like again, and no immediate jeopardy has been issued. An immediate jeopardy should be issued at the time an immediate jeopardy is found, notwithstanding the last peculiar one. So I would assume that we have been able to pass that hurdle. I think your chart does show, now that I've read it more carefully, a new recertification calendar. Is that right? Seemingly, well, of course it's got to be new because it begins May 23rd. 2023, and shows that I believe that you're looking at the possibility of doing the research between May and fall. And so this is really now a much more refined look at how far we're going to go and when. So I think that's very much a positive to show that you're moving in the right direction, as you've been telling us. I think lastly, though, and I'll leave that to whether you would like to have your staff sort of help walk through a little bit of how the consistent care at bedside initiative works, because we have our regular staff, which has a number of people. Then there's that residential care team, and there are all kinds of other focus groups. Mm-hmm. So is there that if we take one unit, do I have somebody who's sitting there that is the CCBM? Mm-hmm. And then what does that person do in the course of a day?
Sure. Yeah, I can take that since I was the major author of the CCBM initiative. So the CCBM very much responds to our feedback from CMS and HHS. And that was that, again, despite all the improvements we've made, we still have a way to go to achieve full regulatory compliance and to have consistent safe care delivered at the bedside. So the CCBM essentially takes director of nursing level skilled nursing experts. These are individuals who have either previously served as directors of nursing of an entire facility or been in senior director of nursing positions at skilled nursing facilities, and embeds them within each unit. So they very much become the dyad or the partner to the nurse manager of that particular unit. Their job is to spend time on all three shifts, the day shift, the evening shift, and the night shift. They are to meet every individual who works on that unit, check in with that individual, make sure that they understand the care plan of each resident, and can do the adult learning technique of teach back, because that was one of the findings from one of our recent surveys, was that staff could not speak to the care plan. So that is a concrete example of one of the things they will be doing. They will also be supporting those nurse managers and charge nurses to oversee their numerous administrative responsibilities, that there's appropriate scheduling of staff, that there are not holes in the schedule so that positions go unfilled and therefore the burden for the staff who are there is greater than it should be. They're also there to make sure that staff have the most current and valid information when it comes to regulatory compliance. For example, one of our major initiatives is the new Phase 3 requirement for a reduction of physical restraints. This can be a very complex and emotional issue for staff who for many years have utilized items that are no longer able to be used as restraints under the new Phase 3 guidelines. But these seasoned Director of Nursing level individuals who are actually coming to us through our CMS quality improvement expert, they are the ones who have sourced these individuals and have vetted them to say, these are the experienced Director of Nursing level. So basically think of it as each unit also almost becomes its own little mini skilled nursing facility with its own Director of Nursing.
Well, that's helpful. So it would seem, though, that if they are coming from the outside, how will they actually get up to date quickly so that they can be helpful? I mean, that sounds like it's an adjunct, as you say, a dyad for the nursing director on each, who are the manager who are on each of the units. Mm-hmm. So is there a learning curve, or it's pretty much that what we are looking at is actually pretty standard in most skilled nursing facilities, and therefore they're taking that experience? I think you've recognized a real issue, and I think this could be a very innovative way of supporting staff. So, and I can see that it's not necessarily contradicting what they're doing, but sort of as a consultant and a backup and resource. So where would they come from the knowledge to be able to do this, I guess?
Sure, great question. So that knowledge transfer comes, as I mentioned, they are being sourced and provided through Health Services Advisory Group, our CMS QIE. The QIE, as you know, has been on the ground with us for over a year, and actually in the QIE role since January. They have senior level Director of Nursing individuals who have been on that team since January, so they are not new. They have been at Laguna since January, and so we actually piloted this program with 2 of those individuals starting at the end of May. So as the new CBMs have come on board, they are then getting a download of information from their Health Services Advisory Group counterparts who've been on the ground at Laguna for the last year or more in many of those cases. Obviously, they have to do the normal kind of onboarding that anybody coming to a new organization does. They have to complete all of our required training and orientation. They have to, again, meet each of those employees on that unit. But more importantly, they are there to give appropriate oversight, guidance, teaching, coaching, counseling, direction in a way that is regulatory compliant based upon their experience and the vetting that has come through the QIE.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Green?
Yes, well, thank you for the very encouraging presentation. I was wondering, you've got such momentum going now, and then when you get your CCBM individuals in, presumably that will codify and reinforce what you're already doing. So as you look at this timetable, is there an optimal time to request for certification? I know people go on vacation over the summers, and I believe there are even some nurse manager positions that charge nurses have been filling, and I'd actually be curious to know how we're doing with that. But as you look at all these moving parts, what timeline do you think would optimize our chance for really complete and confident recertification? And then the correlate to that is, given some of the relatively slow responses from CMS, how much time do they have from the time we request recertification? Is it limitless, or do they have their own parameters for when they have to respond to us?
Right. Great question, and very much is indicative of the journey that we've been on this last year. So in terms of the requirements of CMS to respond to us, in terms of when they would come out for the survey, to the best of our knowledge, there are no requirements. It's really, once we submit the application, it's then the ball is in their court. Because remember, it's going to be an unannounced survey. So they won't tell us ahead of time, we're coming on X date to do your recertification survey. It'll be very much like these 90-day surveys have been. They will just show up one day, hopefully on a Monday. That's the typical. But in terms of the timeline, I would say we're still, we've got to get, number one, the results of this last 90-day monitoring survey. Hopefully there will be no surprises. Then, per the terms of the settlement agreement, the CMS QIE has to do a new root cause analysis on whatever those findings are. Then we have 10 days in order to submit that to CMS, and then there's this back and forth. And in fact, we submitted our findings from the last 90-day survey, and we're still going back and forth on getting those approved. So our hope is that as we're getting further into this year, that despite the continuation of the pause in funding, that we're not resting on our laurels. Our desire is to go for recertification as soon as possible, and as soon as we are confident with the stamp of approval from the CMS QIE that they think will be successful. So having said that, CMS rules say that CMS should give us back our findings from that survey that ended last Friday within 10 business days. Up until this point, that's never occurred over the last year. But hope springs eternal. Maybe we'll get it in 10 days, and then we've got 10 days to turn it around. And remember, when we turn it around, we will have new milestones. So we've got to implement those milestones and give them a little bit of time to see, did we fix it? Did it work? So having said that, that's probably putting us into towards the end of July. And I think then we'll be in a better state to make the decision, do we feel we've corrected the findings or deficiencies from the last survey? And do we feel that those have stuck in addition to all the previous 500 milestones in the work that we've done? And then say either, yes, we're ready to submit, or we need a little bit more time. But that's kind of the time frame we're on for thinking about it. I hope that answers the
That's
question.
really a great answer. And will the CCBMs be participating until we are recertified?
Absolutely.
And then the last question is, do you think that CMS will at all respect the September 19th date they gave us for beginning transfer and discharge? In other words, do they see that at all correlated with then when they might come out for recertification if we do opt to apply before September 19th?
I would hope so. My sense from the discussions that Dr. Colfax and I have with them is that their desire is that we get recertified as soon as we're ready, but sooner rather than later. And that is our desire, because the sooner we get recertified, the sooner we can start accepting admissions again, and that's huge. But again, it's that delicate balancing act. We don't want to prematurely apply when all of our fixes haven't been fully baked into so that they're consistent and reliable in their delivery and their regulatory compliance. So it's kind of balancing all those competing factors in order to make the determination of exactly when that application goes in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to add my congratulations to all involved with the recent hiring of the nursing home administrator and the 2 assistant administrators. And I know that we've all been impatient for those positions to begin their tenure at Laguna Honda, and really looking forward to meeting Ms. Simon and the others as soon as they're able to have some time to onboard and get in place. And hopefully they'll also be in a position with their experience to bring sort of added immediate contributions and added support to the process of recertification and all the other changes that are being made as a result of that. So very much looking forward to that. And the other question I had to do with any milestones that you anticipate might be coming from this 90-day survey, but I think you sort of answered that. You don't know, but hopefully not another several hundred, given that the survey only lasted for 3 days. So I'm anticipating that if there are milestones and a root cause analysis associated with that, that you'll be able to manage that in good order.
Yes, that is our hope.
Okay, great. No additional questions. We can move on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pickens. Item 5 is the Regulatory Affairs Report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, Mark?
I'm sorry. Oh, share? Yes, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Wait 1 second.
I think I can do it if that's okay with you.
Yes, no, and I'm sorry, and I gave you permission. Is that what you asked for?
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Okay, yes, got it.
Appreciate that. Share, make sure I'm doing everything appropriately here.
We see it on our screen.
Excellent. All right, I don't see you all very well, so I apologize about that. But I'm just going to go ahead. Good evening or good afternoon, Commissioners. Nazanin Talai, Chief Quality Officer, here to present to you the Regulatory Affairs Report. This report reflects the activity for the month of May. During the month of May, we had 18 facility reported incidences, as well as 4 anonymous complaints that were shared with the facility by CDPH. The breakdown of allegations is there for you. 11 of them were allegations of abuse, with 5 being resident-to-resident altercations, 5 theft fiduciary, 2 major injuries, and again, the 4 anonymous complaints. As mentioned, at the time of this report, we were still anticipating our 3rd monitoring survey, but as you know, and Roland has shared with you all, that did complete just last week with an exit on Friday at roughly 4:25 p.m. As you are also aware, the facility was issued an immediate jeopardy on May 8th, with that being lifted from the facility on May 12th, and the removal plan accepted and all items verified by CDPH with a site visit by 2 surveyors. There were no plans of correction submitted for the month of May. We had 3 other site visits by our CDPH surveyors, 1 for anonymous complaint on May 1st, May 9th was for 3 anonymous complaints, and May 31st for another anonymous complaint. For our records, we still have 221 facility reported incidences waiting for review by CDPH. And then as you have in the report, the breakdown of the outcomes of the facility reported incidences, the gray again resembling the cases in which are waiting for investigation to start by CDPH. We are trying to partner with CDPH to reconcile our records with theirs so we can ensure everything that we are reporting is the most accurate to you all. That concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Talai. Is there public comment?
Yes, is there a public comment in the room on this item? Okay, I do see a hand. I see several hands. So we'll start off with the folks who have received accommodations. I see 3 hands, only 2 of you have received accommodation. Is it possible for the 3rd to put down their hand? That'd be great. Otherwise, I'll help you all with that. Okay. Please let us know that you're there. Caller? I've unmuted you. Yes.
Yes. Hi. My name is Norm Dagelman, and
Mr. Dagelman, you would not receive accommodation. If you would just wait, I'm going to go to the other folks who have received accommodation. They're just first in line. I will come back to you. Okay, please let us know that you're there.
It's Patrick, code AA. This regulatory affairs report is again worrisome. reporting that CDPH surveyors made 3 site visits investigating 5 anonymous complaints and 1 facility-reported incident in May. The May 1st site visit anonymous complaint may have resulted 7 days later in the May 8th immediate jeopardy citation involving care plans for the resident who had expressed suicidal ideation. The report also notes that during May, Laguna Honda submitted 18 facility-reported incidents, FRIs, to CDPH, one involving LHH's quote-unquote grievance official having filed CDPH form SOC 341, which is titled Report of Suspected Dependent Adult/Elder Abuse, end quote, for failure to perform catheter irrigation and disinfection for a resident by a float nurse for 4 days, as reported in the QIE's 5th monthly monitoring report dated June 10th. It's not known if the May 31st site visit on the FRI involved the catheter incident on form SOC 341. Hopefully, that incident won't result in Laguna Honda getting another immediate jeopardy, since LHH has been warned 3 times that immediate jeopardies may well result in CMS declaring a material breach, quote unquote, of the settlement agreement. Again, these FRIs and the anonymous complaints remain really, really worrisome that the consultants have not been able to get staff into compliance on a regular, consistent bedside basis. This is very alarming. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Hi, please let us know that you're there.
Hi, this is Dr. Palmer, WW. I just kind of wonder what the heck is going on with CDPH. There's something like 221 uninvestigated incidents, many recent, but many going back years. And this seems like it may be part of the root cause problem at Laguna Honda, that you consistently have not gotten prompt guidance from CDPH. And that, so even managers who were incompetent didn't kind of know how incompetent they were because CDPH wasn't getting back to them. And I'm sure CDPH doesn't want Laguna Honda to shut down, because that will create a statewide crisis in Medi-Cal nursing home beds. Is there anything that can be done that advocates or our local elected officials or anyone can do to make CDPH more effective and responsive? Because this strikes me as a big part of the problem ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, one last hand. Thanks for your patience, Mr. Tiggleman. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, wrong. Okay, now I've unmuted you, Mr. Tiggleman.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I would just like to echo Dr. Palmer's thoughts. The regulatory report states CDPH has initiated investigation into some of the cases, but apparently is not on site daily and continues to have multiple investigations not started, not only in 2023, but going back for years. It appears that LHH may be in continued jeopardy, partly because CDPH is so understaffed and ineffective that LHH cannot receive timely investigations. Even CMS, in its May 18th letter to Mr. Pickens, wanted the state to be more involved. How big a role does the lack of CDPH, State of California support play in this prolonged mess? I'm sure that CDPH is not looking forward to the statewide crisis in medical care nursing home beds that will occur if we lose LHH. What can be done? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that is the last public comment.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? None? Okay, we continue.
All right, we can move on. Item 6 is Laguna Honda Hospital policies.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Oh, no, wait, sorry.
They have to be
Can be a
present.
presentation?
Yeah, I think Carmen is here. Let's see. Yes, Carmen, I'm going to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I will be presenting the policy and procedures today. We have a total of 20. There are 11 hospital-wide, 2 new. The 2 new ones are 2303, screening and response to suicidal ideation, and 2515, medication administration. This was originally a nursing policy, but it's becoming a hospital-wide policy now. There are 9 revisions. The first one is 20-04, discharge and transfer process. We added transfer language to the policy to reflect current process. Next one is 20-06, leave of absence, out on pass, and bed hold. We updated to reflect current practice, which includes providing bed hold and notice of transfer documents. Next one is 2213, bed rail use. We updated to reflect current practice, like replacing physical restraint assessments with bed rail safety assessments, and consents are reviewed at least annually. 2214, resident activities. We added a new resident with dementia section. 2410, coach use for close observation. We updated to include suicidal ideation language. 45-01, gift fund management, minor grammar update. 45-02, employee development fund. We updated the department name. 45-03, donations. These are minor grammar updates. And 70-01B1, emergency response plan. We updated this in response of the first monitoring survey. Next, we have 7 departmental. The first one is activity therapy, 1 revision. It is A2, scopes of service. We added residents with dementia section. Food and nutritional services, one of them is new, 1-01, food and nutrition services, scope of services. And nursing has 7 policies, 6 revisions. A 2.0, nursing services, organization, authority, responsibility, and operations. We added the QAPI section. A 4.0, nursing clinical competency program. We updated positions and removed pre-test requirements for abuse training. A 6.0, orientation of nursing personnel. Removed the pre-test requirement and clarified evaluation and consideration for extension is based on performance. The 1.0, restorative nurse care. We updated to reflect therapy aides are no longer to be part of the restorative program, and we updated the definitions and current process. G7.0, obtaining, recording, and evaluating resident weights. We updated the resident weight cadence, and nursing education programs. We updated educator roles and removed the CPI section, and also updated to according to the Title 22 requirements. And finally, there is 1 deletion, which is J1.0, medication administration. This is the one that's going to be deleted and moved to hospital-wide.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is anything in the room? Yes, I see 1 hand, and it is somebody who's got accommodation. I'll mute them as soon as the computer will allow me. It's having trouble here. Hold on. There we go. Mr. Minetshaw, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes, loud and clear.
I keep getting the unmuted prompt. Is that going to stop?
Mr. Manetchal, you're unmuted. You can begin. Your time is going.
No, you can restart it because the machine was interrupting me. So
Okay, just begin.
It's troubling seeing in these policy and procedure updates that nursing policy D as in dog 1.0, restorative nursing care, is being revised to remove, quote, the therapy aids as they will no longer be part of the restorative program, end quote. In addition, the track changes revision marks in the actual 9-page document shows the restorative nursing program is being changed in other significant ways as well. The action plan of deliverables for the restorative nursing program said a quote-unquote gap analysis would be completed by January 25th and a quote-unquote scope of services program document would be completed by February 8th. Why is this nursing policy being changed again suddenly in June? Have the restorative therapy aids been returned to supervision under the Rehab Services Department? As you may recall, the restorative program and restorative aids were wrongly moved from rehab to nursing in 2014 by Jennifer Carton Wade. Why hasn't Laguna Honda's JCC been updated on the restorative level 1 care program that is under the Rehab Services Department? Where is that restorative level 1 care program at all? Is that program still functioning as it had for almost 2 decades? What is going on with restorative care at Laguna Honda? I was concerned about the language deletions in D 1.0 around not having to prevent functional decline in patients. This is ridiculous. The JCC needs to schedule a policy update on the Rehab Services Restorative Level 1 Care Program next month. This nonsense has to end. Thank you.
Okay, that's the last comment, the only comment.
Okay, thank you. I know that there were questions and comments from members of the JCC. None. There you are. Okay, yes, Dr. Green.
Well, I just want to thank you for answering in writing some of the kind of nitpicky questions I know I had here. Thank you so much for the clarification. I think also I was delighted to see the details on activities for patients with dementia, because enumerating them and coming up with really creative ways to engage them that would give them joy, I think was really wonderful to have codified in these policies. And I think I've scanned some of these answers, and I think they're satisfactory to me, and I'll read them in greater detail after the meeting.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, I also thank you for being able to respond so quickly. And I think for those who might be just as confused because the acronyms were not clear, in policy 70.01, the N actually means nursing home incident command system, which I could not have actually have deciphered. And that the AA for the range of motion study actually is now for active assisted, since a single A is only assisted. So for anybody who has been reading those, and since we didn't have a definition of the acronyms, I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate the answers that you have given, and I will also look in detail at some of the others in case there were some clarifications needed. But I do think that the policy on restorative services, and that has been sort of a question. It looks like it's remaining in nursing, and that it actually does meet the guidelines that are required by the state and federal government, right? Because there had been some questions about our program, and that we will be, or are in the course, I guess, of implementing this and following through, but that this will meet the guidelines.
Correct. I will try and give a little perspective and then ask Terry D'Antoni, who I know is on the line, because this is actually a program that she is very much active in. So there's a restorative process that happens within rehab, actually down within the gym where all that equipment is located, where the therapists work with residents. The restorative nursing part really kicks into once the resident has achieved his or her optimal functioning within rehab, then restorative nursing up on the unit at the bedside, which is where then the nursing personnel are really the ones who deliver that restorative nursing to really pick up so that individuals don't lose what they gain within rehab when they've been discharged from rehab, that they still have functional therapy happening delivered by the nursing staff within the units. So Terry, if I didn't get that right, if there's more, if you could please explain that.
I think you're Roland. No, I think that you did get that right. We will be offering 7 days service. We will be able to have restorative nursing aides on each neighborhood 7 days a week. And it'll include bedside range of motion, therapeutic exercises, and the therapy aides will be going to the gym and performing restorative in the gym as well for residents that can do that.
So I'm trying to figure out how does this interrelate to the gym then again, Terry? Because it sounds like the same therapy aides are assisting and following through, or the gym has a separate set of people, and then when they get back up to the ward, then there are things that are being done in the course of it, or when rehab ends, then what happens?
So when rehab ends and someone is a candidate for restorative, because we don't want to lose the function that they've gained and we want to just enhance it, they will be referred to restorative nursing. At that point, we will have a structure that aligns with the CMS guidelines. We will provide a restorative nursing aide, a PCA, and they will be assigned to the neighborhood 7 days a week, and an activity therapist, a PCA, or a licensed nurse. We will then come up with what they need to do. Their treatments can be bedside, such as range of motion, exercises, various therapeutic exercises, and as well as using exercise equipment as deemed appropriate. It'll help them with toileting, eating, swallowing, and the restorative program, we will manage all of that. If they need to go to the gym, we will have activity aides at the gym as well as part of. So they're not too exclusive. They will be working in tandem to ensure that we are doing restorative 100% for our residents.
So if one starts at rehab, would you then also then be considering concurrently there would be restorative nursing on the floor?
Yes.
Working? Yeah. Okay.
The goal is to have the staff on the unit, even though we'll have a restorative aide there, is that the staff utilize those modalities to support the restorative work needed for that resident.
Okay, no, I understand now. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I think that's it for this agenda item.
Yes, except for the action needs to be taken, and the action is to recommend to the full commission approval for these policies.
I would so move.
I would second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Item 7 is a consideration for a closed session.
Okay, public comment?
Are there public comments on the consideration for a closed session? I see no hands at first, but I'm going to give it a few seconds. All right, I don't see any hands, commissioners.
Okay, is there a motion for a closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so if you would please leave the room, and folks on the line, I'm going to take us to a private space. We will be back, and you're welcome to wait for us, but while we're gone, you will not hear or see us. Give me a few seconds to move us over, please, commissioners, and to secure the room. Commissioners, please consider a motion to disclose or not disclose discussions held in closed session.
Move not to disclose.
I second?
All those in favor? say
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and then please consider a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
And I would second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you, Roland.